This gentleman is now a freshly minted Fox intruder. Happy to see that you know him already as an historic figure. Many say kind of greasing the skids for the guy who lives in that house behind me. Talking about Nigel Farage, whose push to get Britain out of the European Union started at what seemed, I guess, Nigel, as a lost cause, right?
Oh, I was the patron saint of lost causes.
You were. You were a card-carrying member.
Possible. Every big business, every government agency, virtually every MP said, oh, no, Europe's our future. This is where we're going.
And you personally were vilified.
Vilified?
Yes.
It went on for years. I was mad, I was bad, I was dangerous.
And that was just from your family.
Well, yeah, mind you, I was used to that.
Totally unnecessary. But, you know, you and I have joked about it in the past, but in a way, I think that set the wheels in motion for the election of Donald Trump, and it revealed this sort of populist rage that was in the whole world's DNA, suddenly. And now it carries Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, the word populism is being used, and it's being used in a sort of pejorative sense.
Yeah.
And I don't buy that. I mean, all I ever wanted, through all my years of campaigning, was for the United Kingdom to be a self-governing, democratic nation-state that chose its own friends in the world and controlled its own borders.
You think it's going to work out? Because people are watching what's happening in Britain, and I know your Prime Minister May has already said she wants to make this fast, make the break clear. She's breaking for the European Union, not Europe, saying all the right things. But the jury's still proverbially out, right? I mean, we don't know, just as it is on this president.
I mean, the first 6 months of her premiership, she did virtually nothing.
Yeah.
And there was a growing amount of criticism.
Well, didn't she oppose it?
But she was on the other side.
Right, she was on the other side.
So for 6 months we had indecision and drift, and of course if you don't dictate events, events get dictated to you.
Right.
She came out with a speech last week in which, at last, she said all the right things. But we're going to have to keep the pressure on her to make sure they actually happen.
You know, let's go back to the president's inaugural speech. People are calling it very dark and dire, but in hearing it, it sounds like the speeches of his entire presidential run, going against the elite, trying to send a message that this is the age of the common man and woman, and that whether you're black or brown or white, you still have the blood of a patriot. And I thought, there's nothing dark or dour about that, but what am I missing?
No, I think it was a shock to all those people sitting up on the podium, you know, the established order of this country.
They were getting a little uncomfortable?
No, they were horrified. They were horrified. He was absolutely clear that he was going to be consistent, that one of the problems with politics is people vote for a series of promises that don't get delivered. And what Donald J. Trump was saying yesterday was, I will deliver. You voted for me, and I'm going to do it. You
know, Reuters quickly coined the speech a naked contempt for world order. And then even in praise of the speech, because there was some of that, the Wall Street Journal added, referring to the president, he will also need the help of many of the people behind him on that Capitol stage. Let us hope that the 45th president has the will to realize it.
Well, he's got to bring...
In other words, the same people he was ripping, he's got to depend on.
No, what he's got to do is he's got to bring the House with him, hasn't he? Now, he's got a majority in both houses. Clearly, party unity is going to be very important. But I think in terms of everybody else, if everybody else hates what he does, so what?
So I mean, in this country, you can go over the heads of these guys, right? I mean, you can tweet about them. You went over the heads of people and just told the world.
Absolutely. And, you know, frankly, the liberal establishment mainstream media are not as powerful as they used to be. Hooray.
Now, that establishment, not huge fans of this president, seem to think that he's going to have a tough time veering, as the last president, Barack Obama, said, from campaigning to governing, and that he's not ready for that. But I see in him a deal maker, a very pragmatic businessman who just wants to get stuff out of the nation's inbox. So if people are looking to him be a rigid, passionate, either conservative or you know, he has very different methods about getting stuff through.
What, the left-right argument's out of the window?
Absolutely.
Completely gone. Forget it. You know, I couldn't discern on that speech at times. Bits of it sounded like Bernie Sanders. You know, he understands that...
Well, even about greedy corporations, right?
About big corporations.
That came right out of a Sanders.
About the left behinds. So he gets all of that. On the other side, you'd say maybe he's a bit more to the right in terms of believing in the nation and being a patriot. I just think...
Some have interpreted that. I was watching... forgive me for this, but I watched one of the more left-wing channels. And they interpreted that stance as racist, that the America First thing I think that's what they were saying. It was
It
racist.
couldn't have been further away from being racist. I thought the best line in the whole speech was, whatever colour we are, we all bleed the same colour.
Yeah.
We're one nation. I thought that was a great
And it was
pitch.
John Kennedy, of all people, who famously said we all breathe the same air.
Yeah, no, I mean, so the idea that speech was racist is ludicrous, and even the idea that it was isolationist is wrong, because you might have noticed the Churchill bust is back in the Oval Office.
I noticed that.
Already? How about that?
Yeah, the Churchill bust, he didn't remove the Martin Luther King bust to make room, because the last president put
That's
that one
right.
in there. And yeah. All right, thank you, my friend.
Yeah,
Very
thank
good
you.
seeing you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very
All right.
much.
Try not to tick off people like you did back in your country, though. You know.